We got it. Actually, he had his hand up first, sorry.
So less of a question, more of a kudos, shout out, if you will. So in 2019, my now very good friend Melissa Crane, who is as persistent as anybody I love and adore, I'm the executive director of Cambridge Hills Assisted Living. Sure. And coming out of COVID, terrifying time, right? And she's like, Mike, you need to launch coming out of this. We were a 14-year business at that point, and she was right. We didn't have a brand. We're good at what we do. We didn't have a brand. And she said, this is where you're going to brand yourself. And this is where you're going to be out there where people see you all the time and you become that face, that name, so on and so forth. And so that's when I first launched into Chatham Magazine and started to develop that brand and that awareness. And I think it's been just tremendously successful for us. So Melissa Crane. Then the second piece is this year we launched with you guys with digital. I wanted to give a shout out to Jenna and the team on the digital side because we don't know how to do that. We're really good at taking care of seniors. We don't know anything about this. But her team does, and they've been phenomenal in getting us off the ground. So kudos and shout out to your team.
Wow.
Did you pay him to say that?
Mike, no, but Mike, it's so nice to meet you because, of course, I've heard a lot about you from Melissa, and she's so fond of you. And I'm so glad that it's working. So many people during COVID, kind of wanted to retract, and I get that. But, we were doing crazy things. We had CVS, handing out the magazine, out their prescription windows. Anybody that was restaurants that were doing takeout, they were handing out the magazine because that was a big problem too, was just getting distribution other than just into people's mailboxes. So, and we mailed more magazines during that time as well. But I'm so glad. That makes me so happy.
I want to tag on what you said because we had a speaker, Greg Lewis, who's, we could not do this event without him, 39 West Catering. And he spoke a couple months ago about the same thing, that he took the opposite approach during COVID. When people retreated, he doubled down. And I think that really kind of is an enduring message of, a business has no choice but to kind of double down. When times get hard, falling back is really not an option. So I appreciate you echoing that. Yeah.
Right. This is probably a good time. I'm just going to jump in and say, one of the things that I really want to leave you with is no matter what you do to market yourself, right? And we all need to do a lot of different things. It's consistency and clarity are the two most important things when it comes to branding and making people feel like you are the familiar. So consistency and clarity. Make sure of that.
Next question. Yeah.
Ellen, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
I know where you're going to be speaking to right after this. Go see that baby. Where is the baby?
The baby's in New York City.
Okay,
and well, I was there all weekend waiting for that baby. But that's okay. He's here and he's fine now, so that's good. Yeah, well, it's my fourth grandchild. I think if it was my first grandchild, I would show up, Dustin, I promise. I would definitely show up.
Well, that's the joke, is if you have multiple children, you definitely know who's the executive of your will already. The one you trust with the stuff.
I just moved here yesterday from the loading dock in Raleigh. I mean, we as a business, Guarantee Happiness, moved here from the loading dock across from Meredith College to be here, closer to the gym and where we live. Great spot.
Thank you.
Great spot. My question is, I grew up going up and down the East Coast and observing, boy, they act different here than here. And my thought was, could it be the weather a little bit? Because up north, if you don't have your stores put up, your preserves and everything, by the time the snow's at the roof, you are out of luck. And down here, we have so much blossoming. Even in the middle of winter, you see camellias blossoming. So to me, it's a gracious plenty here, and it shows through the people's hearts too.
We should put you in a New Yorker ad.
Right.
No, they'll come down.
Another question? Yeah, Rebecca.
Hi, I'm Rebecca with the Chatham Chamber. I've gotten to LA for a couple of years, probably about two greatly. And at one point, we had breakfast together, and you shared something that I was hoping you could speak to here, which is, what does it mean to you when you took a business plan on paper in London to become an employer for who you are now, right? So
you, Rebecca, and it's so great to see you. Don't run out, I want to hug you before we leave. Rebecca and I have worked together really closely for a long time, and boy, are we lucky to have her in Chatham. Yes, ma'am. This is a relationship business, and it's not just with readers and clients. It's definitely employees. When you have a magazine company, you own two things, really. When I say own, I don't mean own, but your assets, right? We don't have printing presses. We don't have widgets in the back room. What we do have is we have our brands that we own, and we have our wonderful people, right? Because ideas are everything in our business, truly, ideas and relationships. And that was how we were brought up in the publishing business. We knew, literally, that the only difference between us and if our employees were not happy, they could all walk across the street and publish the same magazine, okay? So you have to treat people really, really well. You should be doing that in all businesses, but in our business, it's very, very crucial, I think. So I had like a career identity crisis when I was in my 40s, and I was like, I should really be running a nonprofit. This is crazy. I spent so much of my time making money for companies, and because I was growing and launching product. And the VP of sales took me aside. She was like, no, come out here with me. And we probably had like 300 people in our office that we were standing in. She's like, that person just had a baby. That person just bought a car. That person just bought a house. Like, these people in this building, they are dependent on us for themselves and their families and opportunities. And that has stuck with me all these years. And it was enough to make me go, I don't have to change my career. I can be working and helping. And I think the transition that you talked about, Dustin, that's a really good example. Rory Gillis, I sold Triangle Media Partners to Rory Gillis in January. My husband passed away last year, and I'm getting to an age, obviously, and I'm having 1 million grandchildren. So it was time. Rory Gillis has worked for us for 15 years. She always was the heir apparent. Dan and I both wanted her to buy the business, and I just didn't know if we were going to be able to make it happen, right? Rory's 42, I think. Sorry if I'm making her a year older than she is. I think she's 42. And she lives and breathes all these things that we're talking about here today. And we have such a great staff that I knew it was the right time, and we were able to make it happen. But that's so, I cried with joy the day that I sold the company to her, because I could think back to when we first interviewed her, in one of our first offices. And Dan and I were like, should we hire her, should we not? And I think, thank God we hired her. She just was amazing, and she is amazing. And I feel that way. We have assembled such a wonderful, wonderful group of people, and I care about each and every one of them. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. I mean, I really, really do. And people like Melissa Crane, Melissa's been with us, I'm going to get this wrong, I think 14 years. Most of our staff's been with us a really long time, and they've grown with us, and it's been really exciting to see the growth.
Before we close, I just want to say two things that I think you embody for the future of Chatham. One is this sort of heart for serving in the capacity of a business owner, right? Employing people. That's really, really big. The second is when I first got the opportunity to take over City and West, you were the first person I called. One of the first people. And you basically, I said, I need you to come into the space. I need Triangle Media Partners to be in the space. And maybe it took one, maybe two margaritas.
Okay, that's our favorite.
But I didn't have to pull your arm. And we immediately came up with a really, really strategic partnership that I think there's a couple key partnerships that were made here with OCHAR and eventually with Chamber. And everybody knows my Tiger story, which it sits right up there on that coffee machine there. But you were very early in on helping us launch this. So 79 West is not happening without the impact of Triangle Media Partners. Please put your hands together for... Okay, so what happens next is we have to get out of the way because there's a tornado that's coming. We missed the tornado last month. Gene wasn't here. But Gene's about to get up and do the monthly news. So if you haven't been here before, we set a timer on this.